Something I found is that the busier, the more hectic, and the harder my life gets in certain seasons, the more I need to slow down, to simplify, and just to recenter on what's truly important. So if you're in the middle of a busy and stressful season, or you're simply looking for ways to slow down and to enjoy life more, you're not alone. And there are a number of simple, very practical things that you can do to achieve that. One of the first and most important things that you can do to embrace that slower lifestyle is prioritize your morning routine. Hear me say this, your mornings matter. Those first few hours of the day really set the tone for how the entire rest of our day will go. So it really is vital that we find a routine that's going to empower us to begin our days well. But as I say that, I want to be clear. Your routine doesn't need to look like some Pinterest perfect or Instagram worthy idealized morning routine. Our mornings aren't one size fits all. Some of us have more time, others less. And so it's really important that we do what we can with the time that we have available to us. But whether your morning routine takes 20 minutes or 2 hours, I really want to encourage you to try incorporating just a couple of healthy, mindful habits that will really help you to start your day off strong. So maybe you want to make a tea or a coffee, stretch for a few minutes, work out, read a book, do some meditation or prayer, make yourself a smoothie. There are so many options available to you. Really try to customize something that's going to work for your life, your time requirements, and just your needs and desires. If you're running into a bit of difficulty just figuring out exactly what your morning should look like, just think through what are a couple of things that you can do that will help you to start the day feeling good and with a smile on your face. Go from there. All right, but then another great habit to get into is just to romanticize the small things. Whether you're making dinner, doing household chores, spending a bit of time in the garden, or unwinding with a good book or TV show, at the end of the day, there are a number of pretty mundane activities that we do that are just a part of our daily lives. So one great way to embrace kind of that mindset, that lifestyle of slowness is really just to romanticize those daily activities. Be present, do them mindfully, try to see the beauty in them, and then also to do what you can to make those small things special. So as you're making and eating a meal, try to do things like light candles or play music in the background to create a really cozy ambiance. Or if you're reading and watching TV at night, try to snuggle up with a cozy blanket and make yourself a warm tea. Often, just by making a handful of minor additions and adjustments, we really can transform the mundane to the magic and infuse our everyday lives with a sense of romance. Then something else I like to do, and this is a habit that I like to practice all the time, but I find it especially helpful during busy seasons, is practicing Sabbath. The concept of Sabbath comes from the Hebrew Bible when, in the creation story, God creates the world in 6 days, and on the seventh, he rests. And so kind of following that rhythm set into the very fabric of creation, people in both the Jewish and Christian traditions for millennia now have practiced that idea of the Sabbath and just taking 1 day a week to rest. This is a concept that I'd always held fairly loosely. Typically we'll work for 5 days and be off for 2. But what I found is that often during those 2 days off of work, I would just end up doing things like household chores, projects that I needed to get done. I was running errands, and so I was still ending up doing a lot of work on those rest days. The thing is though, the word Sabbath means to stop, not just to slow down a bit. And so a few months ago, during a particularly busy season I was going through, I was really challenged to try this out and to 1 day a week stop all the work I was doing and to rest. Let me tell you, this has made such a difference for me. It's something I've quickly fallen in love with. I get so much from it. It really is the perfect opportunity just to reset myself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually before going into a new week. So if you've never tried practicing Sabbath before, or maybe you've only given it half-hearted attempts in the past, that was me, I'd really recommend trying this out. And I've really learned a lot from the Practicing the Way videos on this. I'll link to those below. They really are helpful if it's something that you're looking to try. And then something else you can do is to nurture your friendships. Whether you consider yourself more extroverted or introverted, this one really is so key. To have friends over for dinner and spend hours in conversation around the table. Or plan a bonfire night, roast marshmallows, make s'mores, and then watch as the flames fade to embers. I find that often when we see people, our default can be to pack those times with loads of activities and plenty of fun things to do. Which, don't get me wrong, is great and I really enjoy that. But often in doing that, we miss out on the opportunity just to create casual places for comfortable conversation. The thing is, those moments around the table, around a fire, where there just isn't a ton going on, that's when those deep conversations that create meaningful relationships happen. So it's important that we're investing in relationships and also creating opportunities for that to happen. Because that's what's gonna fill you and help you to create meaningful friendships that last. And another thing that you can do is to make your home a place of rest. Turn your home into a place that you want to spend time, into a space that you can truly relax and rejuvenate in. And again, this isn't to say that your home needs to look picture perfect. That's just not realistic for most of us. But what I want to encourage you is to do what you can with the resources that you have available to you. So maybe this could look like decluttering or organizing some messy spots in your home to really create a bit more of an oasis-like feeling in your space. Or maybe you want to add a fresh coat of paint, go thrifting for some items, or do some fun DIYs around your house just to make it a space that inspires you just that much more. Whatever that looks like for you, if right now your home really isn't a place of rest, try to figure out if there are some small, subtle things that you can do just to create that sense of calm in your space. I love this next one, and that's to turn routine into rhythm. The word routine really has become something of a catchphrase in our culture. While there is a lot of benefit in doing certain daily activities with regularity, I find that often those routines can quickly devolve into mere checklists. So rather than doing the things in your routines just to do them, try to go about your daily structure in a mindful way. I like to keep in mind the idea of rituals and rhythms. So with both, there's sense and purpose behind everything. So try to begin thinking about your routines in that way, as if everything has a sense of purpose and intentionality behind it. What you'll find is that it turns your daily routines into very mindful rhythms that really help set the tone for your life. Then one very easy but incredibly impactful thing that you can do is just to spend time outdoors every single day. Whether you want to go about this by going for a 10-minute walk outdoors during the middle of your workday, or spend a few minutes enjoying your morning tea or coffee from your back porch or your balcony. Spending time outdoors is one of those ways that we can almost instantly transform how we're feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically. It helps to ground us, to breathe easier, and when we're feeling stressed out or anxious, there really is nothing quite like just spending time out in nature to really give us perspective that we can often lose sight of when we're just staying indoors all the time. It's just that reminder of how small and really relatively insignificant most of our problems are in comparison to the vastness and the beauty of this world. I don't know about you, but sometimes that is just a reminder that I need. Along the same line, something else that's really helpful to keep in mind is that you want to work to live, not live to work. Something that I find is that a lot of us will just kind of naturally tend to give our jobs and our work a higher place of priority in terms of the amount of time and headspace that they occupy in our lives than we necessarily should. Don't get me wrong, I am all for working hard, doing your job, and doing it well. But at the same time, I am a huge proponent of work-life balance and making sure that our work just isn't bleeding into the entirety of our lives. Growing up, my mom had the saying, when you're 80 years old, looking back on life, what's going to matter? For most of us, at least, it isn't our jobs. So if you found that your work is just kind of creeping into your entire life, really encourage you just to refocus and to recenter on what's truly important to you, and if necessary, begin just putting some boundaries in place so that your work can stay at work and not creep into everything else. Okay, and this is a quick one. It's just that idea that sleep really is foundational to healthy and balanced living. And because of that, we ought to prioritize it probably more than we do. So in as much as possible, you're going to want to aim to give your body at least 8 hours of sleep a night. That's really just going to give your body the time that it needs to rest and to recharge to get ready for a new day. Of course, not every season of life is going to allow for that, especially for new parents, but in as much as possible, at least 8 hours is a great goal to aim for. If you can't do it all at once, maybe you have a bit of trouble falling asleep or you have a bit of restless night, it's not a bad thing just to take a nap in the middle of the day to try to make up for some of that lost time. You just don't want to nap for too long though, because that can begin to mess with your circadian rhythm. Then creating margin in your schedule is something that I'm a big believer in, both in a weekly and daily sense. So from a weekly perspective, it can be a great idea to plan rest nights or even entire rest days, like that idea of Sabbath we were talking about earlier, into your schedule where you just have no agenda or itinerary. You can use that time to unwind. That can help give you just a sense of breathing room as you go through your week, so you're not going constantly, and you can kind of find a healthy rhythm of working and resting or doing activities and resting. And so it's kind of that inhale, exhale, that slow, gentle breathing where you're doing things and then you're not doing things. You're doing things, you're not doing things. But then within our days as well, we can stand to benefit greatly from implementing margin. There are so many ways that you can do this. Probably the easiest one is just by setting aside times to rest throughout your day in between bouts of work and activity. But then other things that you can do too are just making sure that you're not scheduling a ton of meetings back to back and maybe giving yourself 10 to 15 minutes between calls or between meetings to make sure that you do have just that time to breathe. So you can really play around with it to find cadences that work for you. But what we really accomplish as we inject margin back into our lives is we create kind of breathing room in our schedules that allows us to slow down. And then turning down the noise can be another incredibly beneficial tool that can help you to slow down. What I'm getting at as I say this is not your volume levels, although it could be that. But the real idea behind this is that you want to consume less media and be very thoughtful and selective about what media you choose to take in. When it comes to media, what we take in shapes and impacts our thoughts and our emotions, especially if, like me, you're more of a sensitive person to those things. So reduce the amount of news that you're reading or even stop altogether. Curate your social media feed and make sure that you're only consuming content that's really going to uplift, to inspire, and to challenge you in a good way. Then something that I've been doing kind of only more recently, but I've really been getting a lot from, is quitting screens about an hour before going to bed. For years now, my default has been to watch an episode or two of television before going to bed. But in the past couple months, I've switched from that to reading. I found that to be just such a beautiful way to relax and to unwind before going to sleep. I love it because it makes it so that I'm not staring at screens and kind of taking in a lot of blue light right before trying to fall asleep. And instead, I'm kind of staring at a page with the beautiful warm light of our bedside table lamps. And it really makes it so that I'm able to just kind of slowly calm my body down and get it ready to just rest for the evening. And what I found is that it actually makes it so I'm able to fall asleep a lot more quickly at night as well. So if right now you default to watching TV before bed, this is something I'd really encourage you just to give a try. And finally, one last great way that you can slow down is just to spend time alone. Create a space in your schedule where you can have no distractions, no agenda, and just find time to be. Maybe you want to practice a hobby, learn something new, or even just spend time on your back patio staring at the trees. I know that's something that I do fairly regularly. Take time just to be present and to engage in activities that are going to nourish your mind, your body, and your soul. And this is something that you can do for an afternoon, an evening, an entire day. But if you're really wanting to kind of reset, you just need space and time to think. Something that you can do to really kind of take this to the next level is to plan a solo retreat for yourself, to go somewhere alone for a day, a couple of days, to really spend time in reflection and contemplation, just being present, and can be just such a beautiful experience. I actually have one of these planned for, I think next month it is. I'm already so looking forward to it. And it really is sometimes when we're able to be in the peace and the quiet, kind of with our own minds, that we're able to have some of the greatest discoveries, ideas, and insights. So if you've never done one of these before, it definitely could be worth giving a try. They really are such a great opportunity just to slow down. All right, well, those are 13 ideas for ways that you can slow down and simplify your life. And each of these really has had just an incredible impact on my life. I really hope that they can serve as a source of inspiration for you as well. Now, I would love to know which of these ideas was your favorite. Are there any that you're wanting to try out now? I'd love to hear about them, so be sure to let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already for more simple and intentional living videos coming at you twice a week. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Bye.